So much to look forward to Wednesday night when Andrew McLaren drops by. It is hilarious, Brian, that song. I mean, it's so negative, isn't it?
Well, but it's kind of cute with the German accent and the clippy-cloppy little sound. I was enjoying it.
No Coward, of course. Yeah.
Well, I was dancing away there. To that
Say hello to Brian Mannix. Brian Nankervis' another night.
Well, he's not here.
Hello, Brian. Lovely to see you. And, of course, I heard your music for years and years. It's an absolute pleasure. And I remember your name was in a bit of early graffiti on Hawksburn Station many years ago.
Ah, yes. I got over to Hawksburn Station many years ago and wrote my name up on the station. I figured that was the place to be noticed.
Because in those times, I'm talking in the 80s, there really wasn't the graffiti there is today. You know, nothing like it. It's become a real problem. But there it was on one of the side platforms, because I think there were 1, 2, 3, 4 platforms there.
Right.
There was Brian Rocks or something like that, Uncanny X-Men written underneath.
Well, I'm just disappointed they didn't spread it across the 4 platforms, make it really big.
No, I'm sorry. That was it.
Who knows, perhaps Brian was a graffiti artist. We don't know that he didn't paint.
Well, Brian was sort of suggesting that before.
Well, you know, you've got to self-promote, Phil, and this is where I started the marketing career, just spray painting Hawkesbury Station.
Don't give Phil ideas. He'll be start doing it. Listen to Bruce and Phil 8 till midnight all over the place. Now, I'm afraid, Brian, though, this is where we're going to sort of lay you bare.
Okay.
Before 9 o'clock tonight, yeah, this is part of my...
Good. You're going to do Michael Parkinson?
No, more Attack Dog than that.
Oh, really? Yeah. More Andrew Denton, perhaps?
Oh, no.
This is going to be like Q&A.
He's an ABC Pussycat. Now, this is where we sort of lift the lid and find out what's really there.
Okay.
Mannix, all right? A couple of questions. First record you ever bought?
The first record
I bought, not given to you, actually purchased.
I purchased a record called by the Royal Guardsmen, and it was about Snoopy fighting the Red Baron.
Yeah.
And I think the main reason I liked it was because it said the word bloody. And Mum would allow me to sing this song, even though it had the swear word in it of bloody, but it was used in a term to describe a lot of blood, so therefore it was okay. So that was my first record, the Return of the Bloody Red Baron by the Royal Guardsmen.
I seem to remember it was a Festival 45. I played it many years ago.
And by the way, boys, we have a quota of 5 bloodies per night. We've used them all up now.
Okay, there'll be no more of that. I apologise to anybody that is offended.
I remember poor old Stan... with things whispered in my ear. Poor old Stan Rofe got himself into terrible trouble. It shows how times have changed. There was I can't remember, it was some debating panel they had on 3AW. This one was the top 40 station, a music station. And one of the guests, who was from a band at the time, you know, an Uncanny X-Men of the late 60s, this was.
The Beatles, I guess, yes.
That was more local than that. And he said crap on air. And
oh, my goodness.
Anyway, Stan had to come on air the next night and apologise and was terribly sorry about that, and there'd been complaints.
Well, I think we need to get Stan in here tomorrow night to apologise for your use of the word on tonight's program.
I thought you would have spelt it, but not say it.
I'm feeling a bit mucky now, Phil. How much swearing is going to... Nobody told me about the swearing on the show. Can we just clean it up and calm down a little bit, please?
All right, the Snoopy versus the Red Baron was the first. What were some of the first you bought then, Brian?
The first album I bought was Cosmos Factory by Creedence Clearwater Revival.
A good start to a record collection?
Yeah, I think my older brother said you should buy this because he wanted it, so I bought that.
Oh, okay.
And I think my second record after that was The Essential Beatles, which is, wow, you can't go wrong with the Beatles, can you?
No, you can't go too far wrong at all. Most influential singer, as far as you're concerned, someone you thought, gee, really sounds good on record, this guy.
Look, I think Elvis is just fantastic. You know, nobody...
And yet, really, you're not quite of the... that's sort of the later Elvis era, aren't you? That's right. You came along
I watched all of his movies, and I think, you know... You try singing about clam fishing and look like you mean it. You know, like he had some dreadful songs to sing.
From the movies, the movie
Clam fishing, clam fishing, baby. You know? But I think he was just an amazing talent, you know, especially in the early years. Towards the end, he was not as good, but, you know, he was still pretty special.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a huge fan of Elvis. And the way he could tackle gospel music, rock and roll, straight country, whatever it may be, he really just could do it all, as far as I know.
A lot of people don't realise how many country awards he had. He did a lot of country records and won a lot of awards in the country, whatever the country awards are. But I guess it's the country CRA. No, that would be...
No, please
Stan Roth will be back.
no, please, yeah. Brian, first local hero as far as singers and entertainers went?
I think probably Skyhooks were a big influence on me because they sang about Carlton and Lygon Street and
Northbourne calling,
and because up until then we were sort of listening to Mississippi, baby, and it was always Louisville and Memphis, and it was nice to hear songs about places I knew, like Toorak Cowboy and stuff. And even if you listen to that record today, the very first one, it sounds like nobody else. There's hardly a chord strummed in it. It's all riffs, and it was a very brave musical expedition and paid off handsomely, obviously.
Yeah.
How are those local songs have been accepted interstate?
Well, obviously very well. I think on their later albums they started including some of the other states. But anybody can write a lyric like "Hotel, Hotel Hell. If you think the beer is rotten, you should see the clientele." I just think that's a terrific bunch of words.
And they had the look, and they really had
they
moves,
looked like no one else. They sounded like no one else, and I think they just came around at the right time, and everybody said, "Yeah, okay."
So how did you go professional? What were the steps there? What led to it?
Well, nothing really. I wanted to be, I was always very much interested in film and spent most of my teenage years making films on Super 8, and I was convinced I was going to be a film director. I'd been in a band, started learning to play guitar when I was about 8 or 9, and I'd been in a band since I was 12, but, it wasn't really what I thought I was going to do. When I finished VCE, I passed and that, but Swinburne only took about 16 people a year into the film and television course. So I had to do an interview, didn't do that well, didn't get into the course, so I had to kill a year. So then I got a job in a tap factory, which I just hated, and we started practicing with the band very seriously at night. And I thought this might be a way to get me out of the tap factory. By the time the year had finished, it was time to go for Swinburne again. The band was going well enough, and I'm thinking, no, hang on, this might be the go.
So that's it. And it was the first paid gig, do you remember?
The Tottenham Hotel in Sunshine, and we ended up doing a residency there, and it was terrific. You could set your watch by when the first fight broke out.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And it was the girls as well. Oh. 1 week the girls are punching, and they always try to humiliate each other. They're ripping each other's dress off. It was. I was appalled by it, Phil.
Now, ever, do you enjoy the outdoors and all that stuff?
I do. I often get the Prestige Jayco, and I set it up in Dennis Walter's front garden there. Dennis isn't too pleased about it, but apparently I've knocked over the dahlias. But it's a beautiful view there, and it's got all the mod cons I need.
You'll recover.
And you're seeing the best of Geelong when you see Dennis Walter's house, aren't you, really?
Well, not when he runs out in his dressing gown waving his fist at you. That's not the best of Geelong, but, generally he's a lovely man.
Yeah, he comes out, doesn't he, singing Old Man River or something?
Yeah, he was watering the garden. Old Man River.
We're in company with Brian Mannix tonight. How happy we are.
Yeah, aren't we just? Brian, questions. This is where, by the way, if you've just joined us, this is where we're sort of laying Mannix bare. We're sort of we're making incisions, aren't we? And just finding out what's inside Mannix.
I'm lying on the rug as naked as the day I was born.
It's a beautiful sight, isn't it?
At a distance.
And with the lights
about 10 kilometres
away. Top 5 most influential Aussie bands. It doesn't have to include Uncanny X-Men, but it might.
Well, of course it would. The Uncanny X-Men, the Uncanny X-Men, the Uncanny X-Men. But no, I would think the Seekers would be a very influential band, one of the first bands to have a hit overseas.
Yeah, true.
Probably the Easy Beats for the same reason. Skyhooks. Then I guess you got to look at
In Excess, maybe.
In Excess, perhaps, yeah. Or Air Supply, or Men at Work.
Oh yeah, there's a few.
LRB. Well, I guess these are the ones that had the success overseas.
Yeah.
The bands that influenced me were Hush, Ted Moe Gang, Skyhooks. And a lot of the bands I liked, like Loaded Dice and Little Murders, weren't even very successful. But
Little Murders, yeah.
Yeah, I loved Little Murders. They were one of my favourite bands.
Good group.
Yeah, they were very good. Very 60s pop and very underestimated. They were a great Aussie band.
There's always that. It's always the problem in the music industry, isn't it? There's these great groups or great artists, solos, whatever it may be, who just never quite get. They underbubble, as they say, but they never quite get that public recognition.
There's certainly an element of luck in the bands, in becoming successful. You've got to be good, and you've got to be, perseverance is probably the most important thing a band can do. But gee, you kind of need a little bit of luck as well.
I spoke once, I won't name him, to an Australian performer who was so sick of doing his hits. He said to me off mic.
Yeah.
He was just sick to death of doing them. You, props with Uncanny X-Men, never got to the point of doing them on a constant basis. This guy is still touring. He may be singing somewhere in a club in Sydney right now, singing his songs.
No, I sing Everybody Wants to Work in 50 Years, and...
Doesn't worry you?
My big hits. Well, I've got respect for my audience, and that's what they're coming along to see. So I don't have a lot of time for artists that say, no, I'm not singing my hits, I'm doing what I'm into now. I think, you've got to respect your audience, and this is what they want, and you've got to find a way to make it new and exciting for you if you're not feeling that way. I'm grateful that I've got some hits that people want to come and see.
Well, absolutely. Ken Francis told me a nice story, which was against you, but I think it runs this way, that Hugh Jackman was approached to do a movie about the Uncanny X-Men. You probably know.
That's right, yeah.
And he said, this is a Wolverine. And he said, oh, gee, I don't know, I want to play Brian Mannix. He said, I don't think I'm cut out for it. But, of course, Uncanny X-Men was originally a Marvel comic, wasn't it?
That's right.
That's what you...
I've got that.
Just X-Men,
I saw that, and I quickly went back on my pre thing and recorded. I've got Hugh Jackman saying, I thought we wanted to play Brian Mannix. I was rapt. I wish he'd give me a part in one of the X-Men movies, just if I said, telegram, sir, or something similar.
Exactly.
He went that way.
Just a cameo,
That'd be great,
Have you come across Hugh at all?
No, I haven't. Some friends of mine, the Shantuzis, they're quite good friends with him, and I told Eve and Ali, I said, look, tell him to give me a small part in one of the X-Men movies.
Yeah, of course.
He went that way, boss. Anything. I don't care.
Yeah. But did you read X-Men comics when you were young?
I know we got the idea from, but I never read them as a kid. Obviously you did, or one of the band did.
I used to import them. My brother and a friend of mine, we used to import them from London. So nobody in Australia really knew much about the X-Men.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the title? Because you were a fan of the comic? Or?
Well, yeah, pretty much because when I was, 9 and 10 and 11, we used to import these comics that had the Uncanny X-Men in them. And then while we were looking for a name in Melbourne, on a Sunday, there was nowhere to go except for the Space Age bookshop.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It was the only joint in Melbourne that was open.
Up near RMIT.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So you'd often see Ivan Hutchinson wandering around in there looking at film books and stuff.
Yeah.
So we go there, and there's this big comic section, and then myself and the bass player, Fudd, see the Uncanny X-Men, and we go, wow, the X-Men, hadn't thought about them for years. And we said, that sounds like a good name for a punk rock band, which is what we were, and so that was it.
Boy.
2 to 9, Brian Mannix, Phil Brady, Andrew McLaren. The lineup is intense. Brian, I've got to go very soon, but can I ask you just one thing before you go?
You certainly
one thing.
Actually, you just did ask me something.
Oh, yeah, I did. That was
Can I ask you one question? You just did.
Very good point. Those wanting to go into the music industry. Some young girl listening right now thinks, gee, I'd like to be like Brian Mannix. I've got those records. Or, whatever it is. What don't you do? Just a couple of don't-dos.
Well, to the girl or the person saying, I want to be like Brian Mannix, firstly, raise your ambition levels a lot higher than that. You should want to do a lot better than Brian Mannix. Look, you want to love music. If you don't love music, don't do it. Love it, and perseverance is the key. You'll get many knockbacks, but just keep knocking on the door, and eventually somebody will let you in.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Brian.
Well, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you, Alan.
Well, it's Andrew, but it doesn't matter. We're all friends here.
Sorry about that, Andrew.
That's all right.
It's going so well, too.
Hey, mate, we'll hear you Friday lunch with Dennis and Darren.
Thank you, Phil.
3AW. Great weekend to you, Andrew.